I'm kidding. It's a vape pen. Hey, everybody, I'm Tommy, and you are on the Love Boat. What's happening? We're going to be talking about weed today, folks. Bag of weed, a bag of weed. Everything is better with a bag of weed. Hopefully, somebody got that reference. Monk, good to see you. What's happening? Chase the Heat, that's Johnny Scoville. Kristen Melinda, good to see you. Glad that you're here. Wes Lightburn, what's happening? Hello, Kathy Clarinet. Hello, amigos. That would be hola, amigos. I'm sorry, I screwed that up. I'm not bilingual. Johnny Scoville's annoyingly bilingual these days, though. So this one has been a long time in the making. Whether or not you agree with this decision, maybe after you think about it a little bit more, you might. So the president of the United States signed a bill that is rescheduling marijuana. And it's going to no longer be a Schedule 1 narcotic. It is going to be a Schedule 3 narcotic, right? It's jumping from 1 to 3. Now, if you've never understood exactly what these mean, let me explain to you a little bit about them. Schedule 1, this is a high potential for abuse and no currently accepted medical use in the U.S. Lack of acceptable safety for use under medical supervision. Examples would be things like heroin, LSD, ecstasy, MDMA, peyote. Marijuana was there with heroin, with LSD, with all of those drugs. That, if you go back in time, hello, honey, if you go back in time, that actually has a lot more to do with business than it did with the drug itself. You see, when they first decided to make marijuana illegal, it was because of a new substance that had just been invented called polyester. Polyester, not real good for the environment, but its only competitor was hemp. So marijuana, which comes in a bunch of different varieties, right? You have cannabis sativa, you have cannabis indica, and then there is something that they call ruderalis or ruderalis, depending on how you hear it pronounced. This is the stuff that they could make tires, ropes. In fact, there was an entire car once built by the Ford company where the entire thing was made of hemp. You can look that up. I'm not making it up. So they made it illegal so that it would pave way for people like DuPont and some of the others to have a really easy path without competition, right? Polyester wouldn't have the competition of hemp. Hemp has some unusual properties. For instance, nothing in the plant world brings in more carbon dioxide and puts out more oxygen, right? The whole photosynthesis thing. Weed's amazing at that. It also has, for the height of the plant, a wildly big root structure. And this was really helpful with things like erosion. You know, you see entire sides of mountains sort of falling away. It's a plant that does wonders for the environment, whether you like its psychoactive properties or not. Well, that's completely up to you. Schedule 2, high potential for abuse, currently accepted medical use with severe restrictions. Abuse may lead to severe psychological or physical dependence. In this example, you would have cocaine, methamphetamine, OxyContin, fentanyl, Adderall, Ritalin, right? These are all Schedule 2 narcotics. And if you're thinking to yourself, how does cocaine have a medical use? It's used a lot for people working on eyes. It's in a liquid form, and they use it for things having to do with ocular, right? So dropping drops into your eyes. It is used that way. There are other uses for it, very rarely used anymore because of the bad reputation. Schedule 3, this has accepted medical use, but the potential for abuse is less, right? Abuse may lead to moderate or low physical dependence or high psychological dependence. Examples would be anabolic steroids, ketamine, codeine combinations. That would be like Tylenol 3 with codeine, testosterone. Marijuana now falls into this category. So it's basically being categorized the same as like Tylenol 3 with codeine. You can still get in trouble for this, but they're going to have to drop a lot of the sentencing guidelines because once something moves from a 1 to a 3, that classification is going to mean a lot less time for people to get caught with it. Then we go to Schedule 4, low potential for abuse relative to 3, accepted medical use. Abuse may lead to limited physical or psychological dependence. Believe it or not, are you ready for the examples of this one? God help us. Xanax, often called alprazolam. Valium, which would be diazepam. Ambien, zolpidem, and tramadol. These are all drugs. I'm sorry, man. Xanax is somehow safer than marijuana. To me, that is really absolutely incredible. Most benzodiazepines are just like alcohol in a pill. They cause very serious impairment when mixed with other substances, especially pain medication. These become deadly. And we lost a lot of really big name stars to people that were mixing those two substances because they're both respiratory depressants, right? And it makes it far easier for you to stop breathing and not care. Your body doesn't freak out and try to take a huge breath. You just stop breathing and you're so mellow about it that, who cares? Your body isn't sucking for air the way it should be. Was alcohol Schedule 3? Absolutely not. It should be, though, shouldn't it? And then there you have Schedule 5, right? Lowest potential for abuse relative to there is accepted medical use. Abuse may lead to limited dependencies. Cough preparations with small amounts of codeine like Robitussin AC. Lyrica, which is pregabalin, is another one on there, and certain anti-diarrheal meds. Alcohol does not appear on any of these. Alcohol is regulated by a completely different division, right, which is the ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. It is not regulated under the FDA, right, or the or any other such agency, which is absolutely ridiculous if you ask me. Ashley, good to see you. I'm glad you're here. It's bizarre that alcohol, because for my money, alcohol is one of the most dangerous drugs on planet Earth. Hello, Cricket. Truthfully, that is a dangerous drug, right? It's available freaking everywhere. And it leads to impairment. And sadly, it is so socially acceptable that a lot of people abuse it and don't feel as if they're doing anything wrong. They don't feel like using alcohol is using a drug. I promise you it's using a drug. If you have a hangover, your body is actually in acute alcohol withdrawal. That's what a hangover is. And it sucks every bit of water out of your out of all of the cells in your body. It's an intoxicant and it's addictive. You're absolutely right. And the narcotic law said that if it was deadly in overdose quantities and it and could cause physical dependency, then it's supposed to be a narcotic. I don't know how alcohol doesn't fall under that. Probably because the people who spend money, right, with and spread it around don't want alcohol to ever be called a drug. And that's sad. And I'm not advocating for any drug, I promise you. But you can put a 2 in the chat if you agree with this. If you don't, you can put a 3. But there are a lot of jokes made about this, right? Where if you get, no one ever smoked one too many joints and beat their wife or kids. But there are plenty of people that in a blackout beat people that they loved, right? A blackout on alcohol. If 4 people abuse alcohol, you're going to get a fist fight. If 4 people smoke too much pot, you're probably going to start a rock band. It's just a completely different drug. Tramadol made me puke when I was on it. Alcohol kills a lot of people, but yet they have it everywhere. They don't just have it everywhere. They have really cool commercials for it everywhere, right? If you happen to be somebody that is struggling with dependency on alcohol, try watching 45 minutes of American TV and not getting a Budweiser commercial shoved down your throat, right? In fact, we even allow them to advertise for heavy alcohol. You will see ads for things like Maker's Mark, or you'll see advertised for things like Di Serono on ice. So nice. I thank the Lord that I don't have to watch heroin commercials, right? That would be a difficult thing for me to endure. And I think most opiate addicts probably feel the same way. My heart has always gone out to people who suffer from alcohol dependence. By the way, alcohol is one of the few drugs out there where if you quit cold turkey and you are far enough along in the addiction process, it can kill you. People will say that about heroin. I promise you that they are wrong. Unless you have a pre-existing condition, if you're just a normal guy, withdrawal from heroin will make you wish that you were dead, but it isn't going to kill you. Withdrawal from alcohol is the second leading cause of death in jails across the United States, not prisons, jails. Because when people come in from the street, they have to sit down and talk to a nurse practitioner, and they will lie to them because they think it's probably going to get back to the judge. That's absolutely correct, Ashley. The other of those is absolutely benzos, because benzo is alcohol in a pill. It really is. That's why if you go in and you're honest with the nurse and you say, yeah, I drink about 1/5 of booze a day, they're not going to cut you off cold turkey. They're going to put you on benzodiazepines, what they call the benzo protocol. They're going to start you on a stronger version of benzos, and then they're going to step it off depending on how bad your abuse is, and they're going to monitor you. But alcohol is a very, very dangerous drug. I'm sorry, it is. And I know that that there are people that really dig it, right? Wait, so bro turned marijuana into a Schedule 3 drug? Yes, he absolutely did. Now, there are going to this is the problems with this, right? There are going to be people. Hold on one second. So you're going to hear people complain about this. Here's one of the problems. We have a huge industry of cannabis in the United States of America, but banks won't lend money. And they also, the people that own these dispensaries are afraid to put money into banks. Because if you are slinging a Schedule 1 narcotic, you get very, very paranoid that the feds are going to show up and go, you got 1.5 million in the bank, we're taking it. Because when you have a federal law that prohibits something and you have a state law allowing you to sell it, this is an entire cash industry that when you go into most dispensaries, they got an ATM machine there because they're not going to take your card. They're not going to process anything on a card. They're going to ask you to take a couple of $100 off of your card if you're trying to buy weed. And it becomes a very huge cash business. So they usually have guys standing around with drugs. Hold on one second. There are going to be people that are going to say that this is a benefit, absolutely, to that business, to that industry. The deep thinkers are probably going to say this is also going to give Big Pharma a chance to start rolling out a bunch of name brand products based on cannabis. Because now that this is Schedule 3 instead of 1, medical experimenting with this substance is going to be wide open. There's going to be a lot of different things. Smart, Trump will win the midterms. Well, look, you know what? He didn't even BS this. I actually read all of the stuff he said about it. And he said he got more phone calls about this than anything else since he took office. 80% of Americans don't think this should be illegal. We say that one more time. 80% of Americans do not believe that weed should be illegal. Make no mistake, this will have implications across the entire planet because there are a lot of countries that look to America for drug policy. A lot of countries. In fact, there's only a handful of countries that don't. And do you know why that is? Because if you want aid from the United States of America, then you're not going to say, we decriminalize drugs. The countries that did said, we're cool. We don't want the aid from you. Keep your money. We're not going to incarcerate people for smoking a plant. We're not going to incarcerate people because they have a drug problem. Interesting. It's kind of a ballsy move, but very few countries have done it. So the other thing that you're going to hear, absolutely, Pharma has been researching the strains for years. Absolutely a fact. They've been working on this for a very long time. My dad stops shaking from his Parkinson's on some strains. That's absolutely awesome. And you know what? This is a miracle drug for a lot of people. There are people that set down heavy drugs, right? Schedule 2s, painkillers like OxyContin or any of them. Pick your favorite painkiller. But there are people who are able to put that up and exchange it for marijuana. That's a good trade. Yeah, they're trading one drug for another, and it's a good trade. It's Nolan Ryan for Jim Fregosi kind of good trade, right? It really is a fantastic opportunity for those who it works for. This is also going to blow open a chance for things like CBD that does not have a psychotropic aspect to it to be researched. And my dad was taking all kinds of CBD before he died. He was not a get high kind of a cat, but it absolutely helped him with pain. Once it's legalized, the medical side felt outsourced. Now they can market and feel safe doing it. You know, it really is a frightening thing if you're somebody that is in that industry. You can't borrow money to build another dispensary because the banks aren't going to loan you money for you selling a Schedule 1 narcotic. They're also not going to take your money into the bank, or they will, but you're going to be terrified that it's just going to get seized by the federal government. So it's going to bring a lot of that $30 billion industry out into the open. It's also going to allow Big Pharma to come out with both guns blaring. And that's kind of a bummer. You're going to see a lot of people. That's right, harm reduction. For a lot of people, they call this California. They call this California sober. There are people that gave up smoking crack and they smoke pot instead. Jack wagons will say to them, you're not really sober. If you gave up crack and you're smoking weed, good for you, man. Good for you, man. I'm not mad at you. I promise you that's a much better trade-off. This is going to have repercussions. UN treaties will be changed because of this. I'm all for it. And not because I want to go buy a bag of weed. Bag of weed. It's not why I'm all for this. I'm all for this because there are so many people that get prosecuted for this. And for the love of God, do we really have time for that? Maybe go out and look at people that are actually doing something that is really, really dangerous or something that is really, really violent. Because if you want to smoke a plant, I'm not sure that that deserves a long prison rip. And you go, they don't give a lot of time on that, Tommy. Well, some places still do. And just as importantly, if it becomes one of your strikes, let's say you get caught for weed twice and you catch 2 felonies for it. And then you get caught with something a little stiffer, right? You get caught with some blow or you get caught with some heroin. That's going to be a 3rd strike drug offense, which could get you 25 to life. And two of the crimes that got you led up to that is bags of weed. I'm sorry, that seems ridiculous to me. And the number of people who died in prison because they were selling weed is a absolute catastrophe of justice, in my opinion. I spent a decent amount of time locked up with people, and they should probably start locking up more people that are violent. I'm going to be doing a show next week on a guy that kidnapped a girl from a gas station and brought her to a garage on his property where he beat the crap out of her. This guy didn't sexually assault any of the people that he kidnapped. He just liked beating up women. And this woman ended up with brain injury and all kinds of stuff. When they found her, she looked like a raccoon. She was almost not recognizable. That's a horrible story. He got 25 years for that. But it was the 6th time that he had been busted for that. I'm going to say that again. It was the 6th time he had abducted and beat up a woman. How in the name of God do you get out 5 times for that? And after you hear that it's number 6, does that sound like it's a fair sentence? On number 6, they should give him the electric chair. But if you fill your prison beds with people that are smoking weed, this isn't a good thing. Now, I will give you the other side of this argument, right? Hold on. So the lower the number, the more dangerous the schedule. So schedule 1 is the absolute worst. Then 2 is bad, but not quite as bad. 3 is less bad. 4 is getting to the point where it's not very harmful. And 5, in theory, should probably just be allowed to be bought over the counter. And in most places, you can buy codeine over the counter, right? You can buy Tylenol 3 with codeine in almost every civilized place on earth except the United States of America, whose drug laws have always been draconian, right? And when you pass draconian drug laws, what happens is cartels figure out they can get a plant, right, that doesn't cost a whole lot to water and grow to a full-size plant. And then they brick it, they smuggle it across the border, and they sell it for a fortune. And though this is a frightening concept, you create a black market. Now, on the flip side of this, you're going to have people that are talking about how this is going to be a threat to our kids. Things like people driving wasted and younger kids getting a shot at smoking weed. And there's an argument there, to be sure. In most places that have decriminalized these drugs, they end up making weed not cool, right? They take away that whole, this is a forbidden fruit kind of thing. And once weed isn't really cool, less people tend to do it. That has been sort of what the research has played out on this. Now, on the flip side of that, when you allow people to go hog wild on this stuff, then you get weed that is now starting to get, in my opinion, to a level of THC that maybe it wasn't intended to be, right? The stuff that we smoked in high school certainly isn't what they're selling at dispensaries. In fact, if you look up what street dope had in terms of THC quantities back in the 80s, 7 to 10%, really good stuff might have been 12 to 15. Now they're growing, these unbelievable concentrates, right? They're taking the best pot you could possibly imagine, getting it up to about 38, 40% THC. And then they're pressing that between these massive steel plates and just extracting nothing but the THC. So you can get to a point where you're buying this stuff that honestly looks like meth more than it looks like weed. These little crystals that for all intents and purposes are nothing but THC. That starts to get a little bit frightening, in my opinion, right? The use of marijuana by kids has decreased. The use by teens, women usually start when they realize it solves the pain. Yeah, you know what? Here's one of the other things that the legalization of this, or the decriminalization, or the dropping it to a Schedule 3 will do. It's going to create more edibles. And I'm sorry, but it is 2025. And if you're lighting something on fire, breathing it into your lungs, that's probably not great for you. And edibles, in my opinion, are a much safer way to get THC into your body. And the more that they lift the restrictions on things like experimenting and doing research with these substances, we're going to see a lot more edibles, and we're going to see a lot less people buying stuff to smoke, right? And that's probably not such a bad thing. In most of the places that this is legal, you can buy vapes that kind of look like this thing, right? Except instead of giving you nicotine, they're giving you THC. They're very, very popular in the states where they are legal. Now, not all states have legalized marijuana. I think there are 24 currently. 40 have it legal for medical use, but that means that there are still about 10 states out there that just go, no, we're not having anything to do with this. The more that the government eases the restrictions, and by the way, this isn't Trump's first go around at this. When he signed the farm bill, he enabled farmers to start growing. Hold on a second. He allowed farmers to start growing marijuana and decrease. Honestly, you want to know the truth, man? What they did was figure out a different way to test it. I'm not trying to bum out anybody's high, but the legal weed, right? The weed that isn't 3% THC, the farm bill allows you to test that at the stalk. That's not where you're going to find the THC. If you're bringing it to a dispensary, they're going to test the bud. So the farm bill has allowed people to sell this legal weed that is just as strong. In fact, not for nothing, it's usually grown at the exact same place. And if they can't sell all of it off, then they're going to sell it off as that legal version where they'll have it tested on the stock. It'll say it's less than 3% THC. It isn't. It's an absolute lie. But it's allowed a lot of legal, air quotes, cannabis to be sold in a lot of gas stations around the country that normally couldn't have that kind of product in there. I agree the Pure is high in THC, but some people use it for decarbonization and drip into a tea. And a lot of people put it in bongs and smoke the dog shit out of it. And we are seeing a proliferation of things like those syndromes where people can't stop throwing up. That was a very, very rare thing when we were kids. Now it's not. And one of the reasons it's not is because the products on the market today are green heroin. Like, they're not weed. They're certainly not the weed we grew up with. Look, man, I smoked pot every day for decades, and then I quit because heroin became my life. And I smoked that stuff they called shatter, and it scared the shit out of me. I mean, it was a buzz like nothing I'd ever felt. I did not enjoy it, not one little bit. Hello, I found my first time taking legal Mary Jane. I felt medically high. It wasn't Cheech and Chong high. I didn't like it. Yeah, I'm with you. Like, the concentrations. Now, here's the thing, and this is a reality. Like, I remember when it happened. I got high. I was locked up when I did this. It was right around this time of year, actually. And a kid said to me, well, Rock, you got to keep smoking it. He's like, if you smoke that stuff every day for a month, that feeling will go away. I'm like, a month? I can't imagine feeling like that for a month. I mean, what a nightmare. I'm not ready to put that kind of effort in. Hemp and marijuana farming needs to be regulated. It will destroy land if it is planted more than once a year. Well, and look, we do that with everything. Let's be really honest. We don't crop rotate. We stopped doing that a long time ago in the United States. You want to do something for fun sometime? Look up what a carrot had for nutritional value in 1966, and then look up what a carrot has today. We stripped all of the stuff out of the soil by planting the same crop year after year after year after year. The Native Americans way back in the day were smart enough to do crop rotation, right? And then do things like burn the entire field, take that ash, grind it up, put it into the dirt. Really smart stuff, right? But it isn't really done much these days because now it's about getting a massive amount of food to Walmart as fast as possible. So we get seeds from Monsanto that has nicotinoids, right? Nicotinoids. If that sounds like it's nicotine. They use nicotine as a poison. That's what Roundup is. It's a nicotinoid. They put Roundup in the seeds, and they're able to grow corn or whatever vegetable, insert your favorite veggie here, that insects will not eat. I got news for you. If insects won't eat the corn, you probably shouldn't either. Just a humble opinion. What do I know, though? I'm a dumb convict. Davey, good to have you here. I'm glad you're here. Shatter is a lot. I wish they would sell decarbed high dose THC. You know what I wish? Honestly, I said this to a guy. I'm like, if I went into a dispensary, could I go, hey, I'm looking for some 1988 brickweed. You know what I mean? You got some green Mexican stuff that's pressed into a brick that's going to get me just high enough that I don't hate everybody, but not so high that I'm afraid to leave my house. You know what I mean? And now for the first time in my life, I can actually cook stuff really well. It's like if I had this ability when I was younger, my munchie days would have been so much more fun. Instead, I would sit on the couch and crush an entire thing of, of scooter pies or whatever. Cool Ranch Doritos. I'm telling you, if it wasn't for weed, Cool Ranch Doritos never would have been what they were. But all jokes aside, there are a lot of people that are going to freak out about this. There are a lot of people that haven't experimented much with this substance that still believe the propaganda films of the 70s, like Reefer Madness, where the person's going to smoke a joint and go, Jane, get my reefers, and freak out and like jab themselves with a beer bottle, dive out the window, start shooting people, or black out, 4 hours at a time. There really was a campaign against this substance for a long time. I want the old strains like OG Kush, Blue Dream, Jack Harar. Jack Harar was one of the guys that fought harder for marijuana to be legal than anybody on earth. That particular strain was named after Jack Harar because he was on the cutting edge of the NORML group of people, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, that fought tooth and nail. And they fought, I'm sorry to be a dick, against things like Cheech and Chong. Because sadly, Cheech and Chong, funny. I love Cheech and Chong. Kevin Hawthorne, good to see you. I can probably quote the entire first album. But that didn't do a lot for marijuana. It made people that didn't smoke marijuana who watched that believe that you took a couple of hits and, you parked on the freeway thinking you were going 75 miles an hour when you were literally parked, right? It was funny as hell to watch, but that comedy made weed look like LSD. That comedy made this stuff look like it was far more of a poison. And it ended up being listed with LSD, with heroin. I mean, come on. First of all, I don't care how much weed you smoke. It isn't going to kill you. You're not going to die of THC overdose, right? And is it habit forming? Psychologically, everything is habit forming. But is it physically dependent? No. Yet it was classified a narcotic. I don't believe weed is a narcotic at all. But I don't believe peyote is. I don't believe mushrooms are. I think if it grows outside, call me an idiot. But I think if it naturally occurs, maybe it's supposed to be a part of the culture. I don't mean everybody should be smoking it, right? But for the love of God, we have THC receptors. I can't imagine they were put in there for nothing. Now, cannabinoids are not just in weed. We can get them from other things, right? But nevertheless, we certainly villainized this drug in a way that is somewhat frightening. And I'll tell you something, people. I perfected gummy making. Well, all right, drunk comments. Well, here, let me do this for you. Because if I do that substance, that's the way I do it. I'm a fan of the gummy. When I know exactly what milligram I'm taking, see, that to me seems like a very smart thing. You start smoking it and you go, I don't know if that really hit me. I think I'll take one more. And by the time you're taking the third one, that first one's hitting you and you're like, oh no, right? And then things start getting scary. I'm an old man. I really am. However, I do enjoy a gummy. It's not legal where I'm at. Beverages are. I can buy a THC beverage, and I'm not going to lie to any of you. I do often, right? I would rather drink THC than alcohol. I would. I don't get loopy, but boy, it takes the edge off. And to be honest, I hate people a lot less when I drink the stuff. Now, I don't drink it every day. I wouldn't want to have to do anything every single day. It's just not a way to live. Now, last week, I did about 6.5 hours sitting in a chair. I don't ever do that. I don't sit down unless you're looking at me. I'm doing a show on my other channel with my girlfriend, and it's going to be going live here in a little bit. I'm hoping to see everybody over there. It is called Rumors You Can Relate To. Just type in Reese and Tommy. You will probably get it. Or you can put in the old name Cults and Crims. I'm a retired criminal. She is a survivor of a cult. You can put in Cults and Crims. That will get you there too. But I'm going to sign off now. Sorry for the short show, but this is my second of the day, and I get together with her, and sometimes those things go on for weeks. Weeks, I tell you. I'm Tommy Scoville. This one's going to be interesting, people. And if you want my humble opinion, they're walking us down the primrose path. First, it was the Farm Bill that allowed weed to get into states that never, ever would have allowed it in there, right? Because it's 0.03% THC. It'll knock you on your ass, right? It's Girl Scout cookie, whether you're buying it at a dispensary or whether you're buying that Farm Bill weed. It's the exact same weed. It's just tested differently. Hate to pull the curtain back on that one, but it's really has more to do with how they are testing it, not how they're growing it. But I think this is a stepping stone. That was the first step. This is the second step. And I think that we may see this completely legalized at a federal level soon. Now, doesn't mean a state can't make it illegal. States can do that. In theory, the United States are 50 little governments with one big government that kind of babysits. So we'll see what happens. It should be interesting. I am Tommy. Look forward to seeing you hopefully over on Cults and Crims. Between now and the next time I see you, put a little love in your heart. And if you're going to put a little THC in you, try to eat it. Our friend here perfected gummy making. You got to respect that. I'm Tommy. God bless. See you on the next one.